Oh my god, she's a weirdo.
Hello, 'tis I, that cow. Well, she's gone and done it now. It was all over Twitter. People were speculating when the medical emergency arc was going to kick in. And here we are. So, I have some things I'd like to say. And, well, let's get to.
I have a right to like talk to people without being like abused all day, all night long, okay?
Firstly, I take great offence at the word abuse here. What you really mean, Foodie, is you have the right to spin your tale without people pointing out the obvious flaws in your story, questioning things that you've said, and not agreeing with you. So, what you should have said is, I have the right to say what I want with only people who will agree with me and believe me completely listening to me. I need my echo chamber. I don't want people pointing out how ridiculous the story I'm about to say really is.
I didn't eat because I don't want to be like, having to run to the washroom when the washrooms are scarce and I hate airplane washrooms.
Hands up, anybody, anybody who believes Foodie would not eat under any circumstances whatsoever. Go on. I'm waiting.
So I try not to eat or drink too much.
Hang on. You just said you didn't eat. And now you tried not to eat or drink too much. So already your narrative has a few holes in it. So what else are you about to say that is, let's say, somewhat suspicious?
Well, that was fine, but then I don't know. A bit mix that, I think, with just all of the like dreading the trip and being so emotionally unstable. Salah waited with me till had to go through the security.
Salah waited for you at security to make sure you fucking left. That's if Salah was with you. That's if you actually went to the airport at all. I wonder what I might be implying.
I make it through security. I make it through immigration. I make it everywhere. I get to the boarding room where you're like about to, board. Fine. Then they made us get on this little bus, which I've done many times, this little bus to take us to the airplane. And, I was walking all this because like I was not sick this time.
Did you hear that little slip? I was walking because I didn't need, I was about to say a wheelchair, then quickly changed it to I wasn't sick this time. Would saying you didn't need a wheelchair at the airport kind of imply that your mobility is actually better than what you were implying? You walked around the entirety of this journey. In fact, you claim you didn't need the wheelchair after you fainted either. Yet the other day you were begging for a mobility scooter because you couldn't walk 2 fucking minutes to Salah's car. So what is it, Foodie? Are you almost immobile, as you're currently claiming, when you're begging for your scooter? Or can you actually walk the entirety of a fucking airport?
But I felt like lightheaded. It started feeling a bit lightheaded. Um, so I go through. They do that thing where they rip your boarding pass. I get on the bus and there's nowhere to sit, so I'm standing, which is normally the case. I'm holding a bar.
The amount of extra details in this narrative is highly suspicious. Those of you who believe or tend to subscribe to the science of lying or detecting lies would appreciate the fact that people who lie tend to say many, many, many more words than necessary when spinning their yarn. They use extra details that aren't necessary for the story, like, the bit where they tear my ticket, the I was holding on to the bar in the bus, all that extra stuff. I went through security, I went through immigration, I went through this, I went through that, really indicates to me that this entire story is fabricated. Now, the only issue I'm having with this is, what is the actual fabrication? Did she go to the airport and then called Salah claiming she had a medical emergency? Or was there no trip to the airport at all? I will get back to this later.
And like I just remember feeling like lightheaded, and then almost like everything was almost like in a dream but falling asleep.
Now, I have fainted exactly 3 times in my life. The first time I was 12 and I'd just fallen out of a tree. The second time I was having a tattoo done and I hadn't eaten prior to getting the tattoo done. And it was a pretty big tattoo. In fact, it's a tramp stamp. We didn't call them tramp stamps in the early 1990s, though. They didn't actually have a name, although Cosmopolitan magazine referred to the area as the Golden Triangle. So my tramp stamp predates the idea of tramp stamps, but that's a different story. The third time I fainted, it was after my first cesarean, and it was the first time the nurses and the staff were trying to get me to stand up. Now, the first 2 times I fainted, I knew I was going to faint. In fact, I announced or attempted to announce the fact I thought I was going to faint. My exact phrasing for both occasions were, I'm feeling really duh, as in dizzy. I got as far as duh before passing out. Now, you don't know anything once you've fainted until you wake up and find yourself either flat on your back on the floor with your mum looking at you, or having a wet towel flung in your face that wakes you up. The third time, I went from trying to sit up to immediately dreaming that somebody was giving me apple juice, which is really weird because when I did regain consciousness, the nurses were trying to give me apple juice. That was the only time I went from conscious to immediately dreaming, unless I was out for a really long time, which I don't know because I was out and nobody told me. Foodie, who has claimed to have never fainted in her life prior to this event, describes her fainting in a really peculiar way that I can't resonate with necessarily based on my experience. I'm sure others who have fainted will have opinions on this, and I would welcome those opinions in the comments below. I've never asked for people to comment on my videos before, so forgive me.
But I don't remember. Like, I blocked out for like, I don't know. The next thing I remember, I'm like on the ground and people are like around me.
So let me get this straight. You were dreaming, but you don't remember anything. So how do you know you were dreaming if you don't remember anything.
And I was just like, what the hell? Yeah, I like totally passed out. And my bad too. I don't know if this is stupid, but I forgot to take my insulin last night.
Okay, this whole insulin thing. I thought you were only on metformin, or whatever it's called, the tablet. And last time you saw a doctor in Syria, he decided you didn't need insulin injections. Yet suddenly you have access to insulin injections. So, what was it? Were you prescribed insulin injections and you just lied about that? Or were you telling the truth when you weren't prescribed insulin injections and you're lying now? You are a really bad liar. You literally contradict yourself in the same breath.
So I thought, you know what, I'm going to be traveling for a long time. And I tested my blood sugar this morning and it was like 14. So I took 30 units of insulin this morning.
I give you props. You really did put some thought behind this lie, which makes me think the lie was actually for Salah's behalf and not for ours. Are you preparing Salah, who clearly wants you gone, for the fact that maybe you're too unwell to leave Syria at all, and therefore he's going to have to stay with you? Is that what you're doing, Foodie? Is that the plan all along? Do you actually have no intention of leaving Syria at all? Because then, if you did, you'd lose your pay monthly hubby. But if you stay and happen to have 10,000 American dollars in your bank account, maybe, just maybe, Salah might consider putting you above his family. You sneaky little witch.
But I basically had help, like, are you okay? Like when I came to, I felt all right, so I just got up right away. I was super embarrassed. And I was just like, what the hell just happened? Like, I was shaking. I was shaking. I was shaking. And so, like, the two people from like the Qatar Airways helped me and they sat me down inside. There was air conditioned in there. Yeah, like it was scary because, like, have you ever fainted? You know that feeling of like you just completely black out for like even a second. I don't know how long it was, but I just remember like I was like on the ground, but like I was so discombobulated.
Suddenly, inexplicably, as if this little speech was somewhat prepared, maybe some cliff notes. Foodie uses a word that's not actually in her vernacular. Discombobulated. Discombobulated happens to be one of my most favourite words, along with pugnacious. I just like the sound of it. Anyway, that's not very suggestive of truth telling, let's say. Your vocabulary doesn't suddenly expand when you're talking about something that happened to you. It's not like I can talk about the time I fell out of the tree and then fainted, and how discombobulating the whole thing was, and how I felt violently and ferociously disorientated, and that once I fell on the floor in the domicile of my mother's, in the vicinity of the kitchen, in fact, roughly next to the ironing board for which my mother was ironing on at the time. So there was a great risk of me having a hot iron fall on myself once I swooned onto the tiling of the area for which I and my mother regularly created culinary thingies. That the entire incident brought a tear to my eye, and it was quite a folly on my part. And my mother, my mama, decided a cautionary route that we must take as a result of me swooning so would be that I would spend the rest of my day reclining on the sofa because maybe I was a touch fragile, and as a consequence, I missed out playing with my friends. Yes.
But anyway, so I had changed my flight, which cost money, and somebody, thank God for you, you helped me with that. So thank you.
So that's an extra 200 American dollars to add to the money she has already accrued from her loyal, misguided visas. And now she's going to imply more money will be needed because she would have lost her ticket due to this medical emergency that happened after she had checked in and was on the bus on the runway heading towards the bloody plane.
No, I missed my flight. Like they didn't, they're like, are you feeling okay? Like, honestly, we don't know if we feel comfortable recommending that you fly in this condition. You should probably go to have your husband bring you to a hospital and rebook. You can always rebook.
I did a little searching on the internet, and it turns out that fainting, either at the airport or on airplanes, is the number one medical emergency when it comes to the transportation of flight. So it's not something that the staff at airports and such have not encountered before. It also states that fainting is rarely a reason to not continue with your journey. Rarely. I'd just like to point that out. I'm not saying it never happens. It's just highly unlikely. Additionally, if the staff had asked Foodie legitimately if she felt she was okay to travel and she said yes, they would have allowed her to continue her journey. If this had actually happened, Foodie would have had to say no, I don't feel like travelling, for her whole journey to have been ended then. So, if this happened, you, Foodie, decided not to continue.
Like for a fee or whatever. I'm like, yeah, another fee.
It was giving me a headache. That is a costume piece you cannot wear for a long time. It legitimately made my head hurt. Anyway, no fees. If your journey couldn't continue through any incident that was completely out of your control, every airline I checked with under their terms and conditions clearly stated all you have to do is reschedule. Absolutely no additional money is required. So anybody who is listening to this fabrication who feels maybe they should help facilitate Foodie on her endeavours to go to Canada, which isn't going to happen, please remember that in this particular case, much like Sasa needing school fees, in fact, no money is necessary to achieve that aim.
I know I've never had low blood sugar, so I never thought that would happen. And I don't know if it was low blood sugar, but they sat me down and they gave me this little, like it's in my thumbnail.
Yes, the thumbnail. The thumbnail that proves the validity of this story. A banana in some fucking Tupperware on a desk does not prove any of this. Most of us have Tupperware. A lot of us have tables. It doesn't prove that that particular banana in that particular Tupperware was given to you at an airport at all. And the flight details are so easily available to screenshots and conveniently, blur out a few bits, for privacy, that claiming that this is proof that this happened is about as convincing as Amber Lynn Reid showing screenshots of conversations to prove stuff, which means it isn't proof in the slightest.
Of my previous life, it was like a little kit with like a banana and juice and then water. And I was like, how many people pass out from how many people have diabetic issues at the airport?
I would imagine that airport staff, cabin staff, people that work there would be somewhat aware of the possibility of people having hypoglycemic episodes with diabetes. So how many people would have episodes of near fainting or low blood sugar at the airport? I'd say how many people at any given time at the airport have diabetes. I'm pretty sure it's quite a common event. And even then, a banana in some Tupperware isn't like standard first aid kit stuff. You're a fucking idiot.
I'm at Salah's house because he dropped me off at the airport an hour and a half away, an hour and 40 minutes about. He came back home, all the way back home, as soon as he got home, and he was really tired. As soon as he got home, I called him and said, hey, I'm at the airport. I passed out. They don't think I should fly today, blah, blah, blah. And so
I like this bit because it involves maths. I actually wrote it down. Right. Foodie claimed they had to leave at 11:30 to get to the airport. And it takes an hour and a half to get there. So Foodie arrives at 1. At which Salah is driving back, which takes an hour and a half. So Salah arrives about 2:30, 3 o'clock. As soon as he's gotten back, and he's tired, Foodie has called to say she fainted and that she's not going to fly. Come and get me. So at roughly 3 o'clock, let's say, Foodie calls and says she fainted on the bus on the way to board the plane, having already checked in, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. And yet her flight doesn't leave until 4:50, in fact. So you call Salah at 3, saying you fainted and you couldn't board the plane, even though you wouldn't have checked in. Not checked in. I mean that bit where you give your boarding pass over to actually go on the plane. You don't do that until at most an hour before the flight is due to leave. So that would have been 3:50. 50 minutes, in fact, after you claim to have fainted on the bus that was driving you to board the plane. So the whole incident and calling Salah to notify him of the incident happened technically before check-in even happened. And yet you were on a bus on the runway going to the plane.
I was very shaky. Like, I was just like, and like, I'm not like, I don't know. Like, am I mentally and physically able to travel right now, or should I just try to tough it out?
And there we have it. The whole point of this particular narrative. Now, I have always believed that Foodie was only going to, Canada, not Syria. Syria for a vacation and not to live, and that this whole grifting malarkey to raise money was a big scam to get money. She will never leave her pay monthly hubby. But now I'm beginning to suspect she has no intention of going to Canada at all, because she will not leave Salah alone for even the duration of a vacation, in case his family sets him up with a proper wife. So this whole am I mentally and physically well enough to even travel thing is the aim all along, I believe. And as I said earlier, only 2 scenarios can be possible in this particular narrative. Either Salah was under the impression she was actually going, and she's fooling him into believing she had every intention of doing exactly what he wished, but it's been taken out of her hands due to her poor mental and physical health, and that it's God's will that they stay together and make this work. And by the way, I happen to have a lot of money now. Or he's in it as well. He knows about this fabrication of this alleged trip to Canada, and he's helping her raise the money as well. I'm more inclined to believe that Foodie is scamming Salah as well. Yes, he's been encouraging PayPal donations, but that's because I think he wants her to fucking go. He really wants to see the back of her. And that adds to my opinion that he doesn't know that her plan all along is to pretend she's happy with the separation and all that, when in reality she was always going to play the "it's God's will, I'm too unwell to travel" card all along. But look on the bright side, Salah. We have all this money now, and I can control you financially again, just like I did before your family got involved. When a narcissist loses control, there are no depths to how far they are prepared to go to regain control, even if it makes them look ludicrous, stupid, and idiotic.
Another few weeks or whatever, and keep like the original date. The thing is like I felt a little better after the banana, but I tried to go today. Herf. Trust me, I tried to go.
Trust me, I really did try to go. I really did. You can believe me. Honestly. Trust me. It really happened, didn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna see a doctor. I told him I would go today, but I'm not going today. I can't deal with it.
Very suspicious that after such a medical emergency, one that caused you to lose your flight completely and have to pay for the ticket all again, and oh gosh, how unfortunate it is that everything fell through, you don't feel like going to see the doctor to see what was wrong.
I can't go today. I can't. I need to just like rest and tell everybody what happened.
You need to rest and tell everybody what happened. You don't need to tell people what happened. We didn't even know you were going. Need to tell us what happened.
Because me, the journey is. I don't know if I'm ready to do it after all this. This is like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And I know if I delay it, it's only worse. But I don't. I like. It's so. It's such an arduous journey, and like when you're not well, and I'm worse healthy wise, mentally and physically. And I didn't realize. I didn't. Don't think I realized that until this happened today.
Ah, yes. I didn't realize until today. Bullshit. How wonderfully, wonderfully convenient that the thing you had planned all along suddenly has evidence that it cannot happen anymore. I think Foodie did actually go to the airport, waited for what she thought was the right amount of time, which I've shown wasn't, and then claimed to faint while almost boarding the plane. So, this is a con for Salah. Salah, she's never going to leave you. You're just going to have to wait it out until the inevitable. And, well, at the way she's going, maybe about another year, by which time she's probably ruined your life in Syria, too.
Next time, eat and go. It's not. It's not that easy.
Actually, it is. If, as you've claimed, it's because you didn't eat and you took too much insulin. It is that easy. But now you're going to say, well, it's much more than what I said earlier. So ignore what I said earlier. It's much bigger than that. So no, it's not easy. So don't give Salah the impression that this is something I can actually do, even though it is something I can actually do. I want Salah to believe I literally cannot physically leave him at all. Okay? So let's stick with that narrative, shall we?
I went back and forth. Yeah, I don't think I think it's like just hit me. Like, do I have airport PTSD? I'm not even joking.
If this individual claims to have PTSD about anything, again, Montreal PTSD, listening to whatever fucking band it was, PTSD, eating so and so, PTSD, now airport PTSD. Fuck off, Foodie. You're making a mockery of a legitimate mental illness that is something that occurs after legitimately traumatic experiences.
I never fainted from a panic attack, but I almost did. So I am going to go, but I just don't know exactly when. Like, I don't know. I probably should have just kept my flight but I thought, I just want to like go, but I don't know. I'm not well.
So where does this lead us? Lead us? Leave us? Foodie, I don't believe had any intention of going to Canada at all because, as far as she's concerned, she cannot leave Salah alone with his family at all, in case they brainwash him further and persuade him, to start a new life with a new woman and have a family and all that stuff, which is his right. She's not going to leave him alone for even a day. And the whole conning money for it just happens to be an opportunity for her to get financial superiority over Salah so she can have more control over him. So all those people that have donated all that money, especially those who have donated hundreds of dollars, you're going to have to take a step back and try to look at this whole situation through slightly more darker tinted glasses. Additionally, none of you are going to get your money back because who can argue against an act of God, i.e. her mental and physical health, preventing her from doing what she claimed she was going to do? She's going to say she had every intention and it's out of her hands. And therefore, much like insurance companies who will insure you against fire and theft, but will not insure you against acts of God, such as the weather, you will not be getting paid.